Hello, aspiring hunters. Welcome to the Hunter Experience. Gon's Nen recovery and the possibility of him accessing his adult form again are questions with many layers within the narrative of Hunter x Hunter. Perhaps the biggest indication that this is possible lies in the very essence of what it means to make a contract in the Nen system, and in what Ging meant when he said that Gon was simply restored to normal. If we look at the events during and after the Chimera Ant arc, we can see that what happened to Gon was more than just losing Nen. He sacrificed all his natural abilities in exchange for overwhelming power. But does that mean this power is forever unreachable? You'll find out the answer in today's video. If you're prepared for the incredible Hunter journey, click like and subscribe to the channel to join our troop. Don't forget to comment on who your favorite character is in Hunter x Hunter. Now, let's continue with this incredible story. The first thing we need to understand is how restrictions and vows work. The absurd power that Gon achieved did not come from an ordinary Nen channeling, but from an unprecedented restriction. He demanded that his body access all the potential it would have in the future, without any concern for what would come next. This means that even if he was unaware of the complexity of what he was doing, he effectively set his own limits and cost for using that power. Interestingly, Togashi has already shown on several occasions that extreme restrictions can be broken or reversed, but always at a price. Kurapika, for example, imposed a condition on himself where he can use Nen at maximum capacity against the Phantom Troop, but any use outside this context could be fatal. However, as we've seen in recent chapters, he can still find ways to bypass some of these limitations if he understands the conditions involved. This means that Gon might also find a way to recover his Nen, but perhaps not in a conventional way. Perhaps the most important clue about Gon's situation lies in what Ging said: "You're back to normal." What exactly does that mean? Because if we think about it, normal for Gon was a state where he had an absurd talent for using Nenso. Why did he lose it? The answer might be that he didn't lose Nen as if it were a side effect of exhaustion, but rather because the contract he made demanded everything from him to the point that his connection with Nen was completely reset. It's as if his body forgot how to access that power. But does that mean he can never relearn it? I think that if this were a permanent loss, Togashi might have placed more emphasis on it rather than leaving a mystery in the air. And if he can relearn it, could he access his adult form again? Who knows? Gon's adult form wasn't a simple natural evolution of his power. It was a forced manifestation of what he could become in the future, but through a dangerous shortcut. If he recovers his Nen, it doesn't mean he will automatically have that power again, because it wasn't a natural state. He would have to reach that level on his own, and this could be something the manga explores in the future. There is also the possibility that the experience he had left an imprint on his body and spirit, and if he reconnects with Nen, he might access fragments of that power, but without the terrible cost he paid before. Another interesting point is the relation between what happened to Gon and the concept of a zeroed aura. His loss of Nen is somewhat similar to what happened to other characters whose aura flow was disrupted, such as when Netero had his resistance drained by Neferpitou, or when Knuckle imposed his ability on enemies. But in Gon's case, it seems like something much deeper. If we consider that a Nen user's aura can be fully restored under certain circumstances, then it's possible that Gon needs a catalyst to reignite this flow. Some theories suggest he might need a new type of training, or perhaps even an event that forces his aura to awaken again. Ging could be the key to this, as he seems to know more about the situation than he has let on. I also think there is a symbolic aspect to what happened to Gon. He always saw the world in a very simple and naive way, believing that brute strength and determination were enough to overcome any obstacle. But after what happened, he lost everything. This could be a sign that his return to Nen, if it happens, cannot just be a physical return, but also a mental growth. Maybe Gon's adult form will never appear again in the same way we saw in the Chimera Ant arc, because that transformation was a reflection of his obsession and despair. Now that we've analyzed how Gon lost his Nen, and the possible ways he could recover it, it's time to explore concrete scenarios regarding how he could use or not use his adult form again. If Gon ever regains access to Nen in the manga, there are multiple paths his evolution could take. Some of these possibilities would lead him to repeat the use of his ultimate transformation, while others suggest he would take a completely different route. Let's analyze the different scenarios and what each would mean for the Hunter x Hunter story. If Gon regains his Nen in the future, one of the most likely scenarios is that his adult form would still be accessible, but at a much greater cost. In the Chimera Ant arc, he didn't just sacrifice his Nen, but he also put his own life on the line as a bargaining chip. The only reason he survived was the miraculous intervention of Aluka Nanika. If he tried to use this form again, the price could be definitive. One possibility is that in a moment of extreme desperation, Gon could force this state once again, but without anyone to save him, he would end up dying in the process. This would make narrative sense, reinforcing the idea that this kind of power has an inescapable cost. A battle against an enemy who threatens his family or closest friends could be the spark for this ultimate sacrifice. This would be a tragic fate for Gon, but would maintain the coherence within the Hunter x Hunter world, where decisions have real consequences. On the other hand, if Togashi wanted to avoid Gon's death, he could introduce a different concept. What if the adult form didn't immediately cost his life, but instead brought him progressively closer to death with each use? In this case, Gon's own body could suffer irreversible deterioration. We could see him struggling to stay alive while searching for a way to reverse this condition, perhaps through advanced healing techniques or entirely new Nen methods. This would be an interesting development because it would maintain the risk of the transformation, but allow Gon to still have a role in the story without being immediately discarded. Another possibility is that Gon may never be able to access his adult form again, even if he recovers his Nen. This could happen because his first transformation was a unique event, an extreme distortion of the Nen system that cannot be replicated without the exact same conditions. Perhaps he was only able to achieve that form because his hatred and despair had reached their absolute peak, and his body responded spontaneously to that state of mind. If that's the case, then upon regaining his Nen, Gon would have to evolve in a conventional way. This would mean he would need a new master, intensive training, and a more mature deepening of his Nen usage. It would be interesting to see him learning to refine his fighting style and developing abilities that compensate for the absence of his adult form. Within this context, we could see Gon exploring new concepts such as advanced Ren techniques to expand his aura in a sustainable way, developing a new category of Hatsu that would differentiate him from his previous aggressive approach, using less extreme restrictions to create a new type of power that wouldn't put his life at risk. If this were the chosen path, Gon could end up becoming one of the strongest characters in the manga without ever needing his adult form again. This development would reinforce an important theme. True power doesn't come from shortcuts, but from real growth over time. A less desired, but still logical possibility within the story is that Gon regains his Nen, but chooses not to use it for fighting anymore. Togashi has already shown that Gon's journey isn't just about strength, but also about maturity. After everything that happened, he might decide that he no longer wants to follow the path of a battle-driven hunter. If this were the case, Gon could take a completely different path, perhaps becoming a teacher, a Nen researcher, or even a mentor for new hunters. His return to the world of Nen could serve to help others rather than seeking more power for himself. While this path might seem frustrating to many fans who want to see him fight again, it would still be a valid and meaningful conclusion for the character. After all, Hunter x Hunter has always been a manga that subverts expectations, and the idea of the protagonist choosing to step away from battles could be a bold and unexpected choice. So yes, Gon is still a character full of possibilities, and his future within the story of Hunter x Hunter depends on how Togashi chooses to handle his recovery. If he regains his Nen, the central question will be, will he return to fighting? And if so, will he be able to use his adult form again? If his adult form can be used, it will come at a cost, possibly his life. If it can't, then he will need to find a new way to become strong. Whatever happens, one thing is certain. The Gon we saw before the Chimera Ant arc no longer exists. Whatever the future holds for him, it will be a more mature and self-aware version of the character we once knew. Now, the big question is when Togashi will choose to explore this journey. Will Gon return to the center of the story, or has his role already been fulfilled? These are questions that only time can answer. Hunters, that was our video for today. Leave a like if you enjoyed our video, subscribe to the channel as it is still very new, and I'll see you in the next video. Until then.